message is brought to you by the American Water Works Association and your local water provider.
Hey, welcome in. Ready to get started with a big-time story in the New York Times on Columbus and crime. So thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. And here we go. There is an old saying that there's no such thing as bad publicity. I wonder if that is the feeling at Columbus City Hall today. Now that Andrew Ginther, America's murder mayor, has been outed in a New York Times story, I imagine Andrew Ginther's comms director calling him and saying, "Hey, Mr. Mayor, I have good news and I have bad news." "Oh, really? What's the good news?" "The good news is the New York Times has done a big story on Columbus, Ohio." But before Andrew Ginther can say, "Yay!" he asks, "What's the bad news?" And the bad news is, it's about the crime in Columbus and the murder in Columbus. And while Columbus used to be a test market for every major fast food chain in the world, got a new sandwich? Let's test market it in Columbus, because Columbus is pretty much indicative of every major Midwestern city, right? If it'll sell in Columbus, it'll sell everywhere. Well, unfortunately, for those of us who live here, who remember how safe our city used to be, how great our city used to be, and I used to say, keep it quiet. I don't want people moving in here and turning it into a crime-ridden hellscape. Then Michael Coleman got elected mayor, and then Andrew Ginther got elected mayor after that. And over the past 2 decades, our city has deteriorated. And I know that the New York Times tried and the Columbus Dispatch will try to make this a pandemic story. But if you've lived here for 20 years or so, you know that our city is not nearly the city that it used to be. And it's because the city is ruled by Democrats. It is, and I mean ruled. Every member of city council, every major office holder in the city, the mayor's office, it is ruled by Democrats. If you want a test case, not on a sandwich, but on whether Democratic policies work, well, not just Columbus, but the state of Ohio, even the nation affords you pretty much an infallible test case. Like Columbus, Cleveland is ruled by Democrats. Every member of city council, mayor's office, it's been ruled by Democrats longer. It's why Cleveland is not nearly as good a city as Columbus. But, give us time. We'll dive down deeper into the sewer and be right there with Cleveland in a couple of years. Cincinnati, same deal, although Cincinnati occasionally elects a Republican. But let's get to the big New York Times story, which is headlined, "How Gun Violence Spread Across One American City." And it notes the startling and extremely troubling statistic that if you live in Columbus, 41% of you live within a quarter mile of a recent fatal shooting. 41%, 4 out of 10, trending toward half the population. Before the pandemic, the number was 28%. So what does that tell you? It tells you that more places are becoming more dangerous in Columbus, Ohio. And when you're the mayor, that falls on you. I'm not going to say sorry about it, because I'm not sorry to hold people accountable for the mistakes that they have made. And if you talk to Columbus police officers, and I talk to a fair amount of them, they will tell you how frustrated they are when they have cases that they deem to be open and shut, and the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office won't even bring those cases to trial. We have not a murder case, but we have cases of resisting arrest, unlawful conduct on the South Oval at Ohio State. Arrests were made by Ohio State campus police. Does anybody think City Law Director Zach Klein is going to prosecute those cases? I mean, if you think so, then I guess you could probably ride home from work today on your pink unicorn. Or maybe you could just fly home today on your pink unicorn, because that's as reasonable as expecting Zach Klein to prosecute a single person who was arrested on the South Oval for protesting a couple of weeks back. It just won't happen. And the reason why it won't happen in Columbus, in every city around the country, the reason why these numbers are outrageously different in a bad direction since the pandemic is because the pandemic is not what caused all this. Something that happened in close proximity to the start of the pandemic is what caused all this, and that is the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Notice I say the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, not the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis, because the autopsy report on George Floyd showed that he was under the influence of enough fentanyl to kill a horse. We own a horse. Horses are big. Horses are intimidating. And when you have enough fentanyl in your system to kill a horse, that's a lot of fentanyl. But George Floyd's death was a convenient opportunity for Democrats to revive the favorite narrative that Democrats always revive when an election is coming up. And that is that police are racist, black men are being hunted down. And what resulted from that was this growing idiocy, which we still are subject to, of if there is a disparate outcome, then the reason why there is a disparate outcome must be because there is inherent unfairness in the system where that disparate outcome results. I used a lot of big words there. Let me explain. If we have more than 13% of the population in prison who are black, then because the population in our country is 13% black, then there has to be a flaw in the system that causes more than 13% of the prison population to be black. That is the lunacy of viewing a disparate outcome as causal rather than coincidental, or the fact that there are other factors in place: poverty, hopelessness, lack of education. Oh, lack of education, Bruce. How could that possibly apply in Columbus, Ohio? You mean where the reading and math scores are abysmally low in Columbus City Schools, which tonight its board members will have to face down residents and explain why they asked for and got a $100 million levy in the fall, while leaving out the minute detail that, oh yeah, we're going to close 20 of your neighborhood schools, even if we get the levy. Gee, we meant to tell you about that. We totally forgot. So when you have neighborhoods in the city of Columbus where promises are broken repeatedly by the people in power, remember the big, fancy, awesome park the city was going to build on the site of the historic Crew Stadium over by the Ohio State Fairgrounds? Andrew Ginther trumpeted it. The people in Linden who live in close proximity to that trumpeted, finally, a place for our kids to hang out. Finally, something good happening in our neighborhood. How long have the Crew been playing in Crew Stadium downtown? A couple of years, what, 3, 4? How's that park doing over in Linden? Oh, that's right, it's not there. Where is it? Oh, it's going to be built in another part of the city where it's nicer and where it's, wait for it, safer. Broken promises. And yet, was Andrew Ginther in any danger of being not elected mayor in the fall? No, of course not. Do we have 3, 4, 5 Republicans elected to city council? No. Did any Democrat holding city office lose their job? No. If you don't hold people accountable for their mistakes, if you don't hold people accountable for mistakes that lead to people dying in your neighborhood, where 41% of you, thanks to Andrew Ginther's inept, feckless policies and looking the other way on crime, if you don't hold them accountable at the ballot box, guess what? Things in your neighborhood aren't going to change. So the New York Times writes about a shooting death on the east side of the city where people had settled because they thought it was a safe neighborhood. It wasn't. And this is typical of a lot of places in Columbus. What did we have? A couple of months ago, we had, like, in close proximity to each other, 3 or 4 random shootings as people were just driving through downtown on 670, 70, or 71. This is the city that Andrew Ginther has delivered. For all his promises about compassion and uplifting people, he continues to devote more thought to his proposed $100 million bike path and the Scioto Mile and other things that won't do a single thing for the people who continue to support him with, what, 68, 72, somewhere in there, % of their vote. I do feel sorry for the residents who have been duped, but you get the leaders that you asked for.
Sunny, warm, and humid this afternoon. Be careful if you're going to be outdoors. Highs today 89. Partly warm and humid tonight, low 69. Clouds, breezy, humid.
All right, we are off and running. Glad to have you with us. Looking forward to doing more on crime in Columbus, and we will get to Bill Maher on Gutfeld, and we will get to a little bit on the Trump trial as well. We're in commercial, so I'll do a little more prep here and be right back with you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Remember when you were a kid, your parents and grandparents made you try all the vegetables on your plate? You had to eat them all. They knew what was good for you. Well, it's truer today than ever before. You got to eat your fruits and veggies every single day. And I do it with Balance of Nature. 3 little red, 3 little green, easy to swallow capsules from Balance of Nature. Their products are gluten-free and non-GMO. They contain no added sugars or synthetics. If you're looking for something to make you feel better, I mean, have you lost a little bit of pep in your step? Hey, you could order online or call them direct. Use the promo code MikeG and get this special offer of 35% off. Call Balance of Nature today at 800-246-8751. 800-246-8751. Mention the discount code MikeG, or you can order online by going to balanceofnature.com. Use the discount code MikeG to get 35% off. Join me on this journey to feeling better. The Balance of Nature way. That's what financial grid is known for.
Everyone knows the old saying, nothing lasts forever. Well, whoever said that obviously never thought of time. Not only do your maintenance fees and assessment fees go on forever, they go up forever. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Over 10 years ago, I was a timeshare salesman. But once I saw the dark side of the business, I quit. I started helping folks get out of the timeshare. Since then, we've helped over 30,000 families by getting them out of bad timeshare. If your timeshare agreement goes on forever, if you were told timeshares are a great investment, or your maintenance fees will never go up, you have questions, we have the answer. Give us a call. I guarantee you, we'll take you to the client. We'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing.
Call Wesley now for your free information kit. 800-839-8484. That's 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
We're more connected than ever before. 90% of America's students use some form of social media, but not all of it's used in a good way. Hurtful posts online are leading to social isolation for many. Psychologists say it's bullying in a brand new way. Well, beyond differences in IT safe, we're looking to change that with ideas for students, their parents, and even teachers. Take a pledge to be kind online and learn more at wearekindonline.com.
Well, nothing like a good steak on a beautiful summer day like today, and you can have great steaks delivered right to your home if you go to riverbendranchsteaks.com/Bruce Hooley. The steaks are phenomenal. They're black Angus beef, all certified, guaranteed, never, ever. What does that mean? Never any hormones, never any antibiotics. A lot of beef cattle are given those to finish them to market. They're also trucked to market and stressed when they get there. And that affects the beef, but not so at Riverbend Ranch because they built a $160 million processing plant on the ranch. It is located in Idaho, but also in Wyoming and also in Montana. I mean, it'd have to be a big ranch if they're going to ship beef all over the United States, and they do. Rare in that you get the chance to get a bundle delivered to your home every month or every other month. They won't rip you off like other meat services who do not control the product beginning to end. Riverbend Ranch Steak does. Check it out, riverbendranchsteaks.com/Bruce Hooley, riverbendranchsteaks.com/Bruce Hooley. So let me run through some of the stories, tales of woe, and other things in this comprehensive New York Times piece on Columbus's escalating violence problem since the death of George Floyd. I'm not going to say since the pandemic because the two things were like, what, 2 months apart? And the death of George Floyd caused us to fall victim to a phony narrative that, oh, well, you know, look at this, like this guy got killed on the streets of Minneapolis, even though he had enough drugs in his system to kill a horse, and even though he had pistol whipped a pregnant woman, and even though he was a career criminal, and even though he said, I can't breathe before he was ever put on the ground, and even before his autopsy showed that he wasn't killed by anything Derek Chauvin did. The narrative was driven. There was an election to be won by Democrats. Let's pander to black people. Let's tell them that the white police officers are evil. And every single time, right? Jacob Blake, a knife terrorizing his ex-wife. I don't even know if he ever married her, but he gets shot. And who shows up on his doorstep? Oh, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. What a coincidence. So here in Columbus, I've talked about the murder of Olivia Kurtz at Bicentennial Park. What was her crime? Well, she was having fun with her friends. Well, you say for an unauthorized party. They were at Bicentennial Park after hours. She deserved to be killed in a drive-by shooting? No. Do we have that perpetrator brought to justice yet? No, we don't. No, we don't. Do we have justice for Mackenzie Ridley, the young lady who had a college scholarship, who wanted to be an entrepreneur, whose favorite color was orange? Why do I know more about her, even though I never met her? Could Andrew Ginther even remember her name? I doubt it. Well, you know, too many of these stories, right? Far too many of these stories. We've had in Columbus, according to the New York Times, murders at public parks, Mackenzie Ridley, graduation parties, a children's clothing shop, a Dairy Queen, a dollar store in the short north, a water gun fight. I think that was Mackenzie Ridley, actually, also at a public park. 207 murders in 2021. Then it went down to 149. And now this year they're bragging about the fact that we're at 36 for the year, and a year ago we were at 70. We're in our second hot day of the year. Wouldn't celebrate too soon, Andy. I know you want this story to go away. But nationwide, this is not true. They keep telling you crime's going down. Crime's going down. No, it isn't. According to the New York Times story, murders nationwide are still higher than before the pandemic. The number of fatal shootings in the first quarter of 2024 was 13% higher than it was in the same period in 2019. Refresh my memory. Who was president in 2019? Oh, that's right, Donald Trump. Now, Andrew Ginther, he's a Democrat, so never let it be said he's not doing. What do Democrats do? Whether it's on the border or on energy or whatever, they're always doing what? Everything they can, right? Yes, they're always doing everything they can. In 2022, Mayor Andrew Ginther declared a gun violence a public health crisis. Like COVID. Yes, it was every bit as legit as declaring COVID a public health crisis. The New York Times talks to a 14-year-old kid named Adonis, who says the problem is there's too many guns out there. Well, you know what? There's too many guns out there, Adonis, because too many law-abiding citizens fear that somebody's going to show up on their doorstep, pistol whip them in traffic. And so they want to protect themselves. What does Andrew Ginther have to say? Oh, the Dispatch. He got tired arms at the Dispatch today. So tired. Their arms are so tired. You'd be tired too if you carried water for Andrew Ginther and his entire administration on this. Quoting at length press release statements. Interesting. Why did Andrew Ginther and Emmanuel Remy, head of the safety committee on city council, why are they speaking through statements? You know why they're speaking through statements? Because when you speak through a statement, there is no follow-up question. Here's a statement. This is what we have to say about getting national publicity, calling out our city for becoming Dodge City. Statements. What weak sauce. What would I expect? I mean, Andy probably has a tea time today at OSU Scarlet. He can't be bothered with press conferences about getting ripped in the New York Times. He says, Ginther says to the Times, I feel at times like we have one or two arms tied behind our back trying to fight gun violence. Those guns, they're so violent. Put it on a nightstand. Mine is on the nightstand beside my bed. Mine never gets violent until I pick it up and pull the trigger. Load the chamber. Funny, mine must be obedient. Others aren't. It can be very frustrating, Andrew Ginther says, because the people are angry. They want more to be done. Well, gee, who would they want to do more, I wonder? Maybe you. So the Times interviews 14-year-old Adonis and his friend Jason. They're both in the 8th grade. They say they see guns every single day. At this point, it don't even faze us. Proud students at Columbus City Schools. It don't even faze us. Contractions. When did they get to contractions? When did they get to that in 9th grade English? I don't know. I doubt it. When we were younger, it was like you can walk out and do anything, like it's fun outside, Jason said. Now you walk out, you got to be worried about getting shot. Yes, you do. They talked about a 13-year-old friend who was fatally shot in December. And then they go into the Kia boys, kids as young as 10 or 11, who once they learned online how to steal Kias and Hyundais, suddenly could take their mayhem to Dublin and Hilliard and other areas of the city. Or they could shoot a four-time All-American wrestler at Ohio State, Sammy Sasso, in the belly, nearly paralyzing him and taking his car on a joyride to Easton, while the two assailants were not incarcerated, even though they were each wanted on multiple charges. So this filters down to all the rest of us who, like Sammy Sasso, were just minding their own business, going to Kroger to pick up something in the campus area. And now an NCAA runner-up, a guy who, if he had wrestled this past year, might have helped Ohio State place second in the NCAAs, he may never wrestle again. But Sammy Sasso doesn't look at himself as a victim because he's tough and he has goals and he has discipline and he's worked hard. And those qualities, I'm sure, were ingrained in him by his parents. And thankfully, there's one honest person in this New York Times story who is a parent who says that parents have failed their kids. We'll tell you about her next.
With SRN News, Amit Thomason. Former President Trump will not take the stand at his New York criminal trial. His lawyers have rested their case without Mr. Trump's testimony. The jury has been sent home for a week. Closing arguments expected a week from today. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu pushing back against suggestions that he and other Israeli officials are guilty of war crimes. The International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor is seeking arrest warrants for Netanyahu and others. The Prime Minister condemns it as disgraceful and anti-Semitic. Denver launching a new program of aid for illegal immigrants. It includes 6 months' worth of rent, 3 computers and cell phones, along with help for asylum applications. On Wall Street this morning, stocks are now in positive territory. The Dow is up 63 points. The NASDAQ ahead 3, and the S&P is up 6 points. More details, SRN.
I had a close relationship with the Greek community. I am Joe Bidenopoulos. You all think I'm kidding.
White House girls and
It's funny. We'll have to play that.
A guy driving a truck anyway, knocked down a whole bridge and the whole block, 4 lanes of the highway. He consecrated the whole block. Less than a guy driving a truck knocked down a whole bridge and the whole block, 4 lanes of the highway. He consecrated the whole block. Less than a guy driving a truck knocked.
Cruise.com. Attention business owners, medical practice owners, and taxpayers with not so simple tax returns. If you're not getting timely and useful financial advice throughout the year from your accountant, why not? I'm CPA Brad Hennebert from Premier Tax CPAs, and the true value of using a CPA is getting guidance throughout the year, not just at tax time. During the year, we can actively advise you on your financial, tax planning, and other major business needs, just like an outside CFO. Too often, when you see your accountant only at tax time, we're really only keeping score of what you did last year. At Premier Tax CPAs, we like to have monthly consultations with our business clients because important financial information is only useful if it's timely. See us before April 15th and get a free copy of my latest book, The Ohio Business Owner's Tax Survival Guide. At Premier Tax CPAs, we're a firm that can work with you and your business throughout the year to help you make decisions before it's too late. Give us a call at 614-524-4888. That's 614-524-4888.
Here's great news. If you plan on attending Ohio Christian University as a new traditional student this fall semester at the Circleville campus, you can receive a $5,000 tuition scholarship for only $2,500. That's right. Get a $5,000 tuition scholarship for only $2,500. One scholarship per student, and all Ohio Christian University admission requirements must be met. Learn more at 989theanswer.com or call RMAT at 614-216-5049.
Juice, opinion, passion. Here, 98.9 FM, The Answer. Anywhere you go with The Answer's mobile app at 989theanswer.com. Also on your smart speakers, TuneIn or iHeart.
Well, fret not, fathers. We have not forgotten you. I know you probably got a little bit jealous there when we had the Mother's Day contest at 989theanswer.com. Well, we have a Father's Day contest as well. No, don't be comparative. Don't look at how much money we're giving fathers compared to how much we're giving mothers. Enter now, and if you're a grand prize winner at 989theanswer.com, you will receive $500 in cash for your dad, or you could win a copy of the book, Winning at Home, Tackling the Topics That Confuse Kids and Scare Parents by Dan Seaborn, author and president of Winning at Home. To increase your opportunity to win, we have designed bonus ways for you to gain additional entries each day, and you can check those out at 989theanswer.com when you click on the Father's Day Sweepstakes 2024 logo. While you're there, you might as well enter the Get Caught Up Sweepstakes too. You can enter that through June the 9th. Same opportunity for bonus entries. Grand prize winner there gets 10 grand. Again, I say, don't compare. Just enter at 989theanswer.com. They have rested at the Trump trial. Donald Trump will not take the stand. Alvin Bragg will not get the chance to cross-examine him. They called Robert Costello today. The judge and Judge Marchand, Juan Marchand, and Robert Costello. Costello is the guy who was Michael Cohen's attorney for a while until Michael Cohen decided not to pay any of his legal bills. Robert Costello and the judge got into it yesterday because Costello was like openly reacting, bad body language, they say, when the judge would make stupid rulings. Costello is like a longtime federal prosecutor. He was like rolling his eyes and going, oh man. Stuff like that. And the judge got so mad. Clear the courtroom! Now, what is the reason why they can't have closing arguments today? I mean, it's Tuesday. Memorial Day is when? Monday? Like, why don't they have closing arguments today? Give it to the jury. Because the judge is hoping that the jury will forget that Michael Cohen is a serial liar and that he admitted yesterday to stealing what? Was it 30,000 or 60,000? Not sure the specifics. I'm not sure the specifics matter. Michael Cohen in court yesterday confessed to a crime worse than the crime Donald Trump is charged with, although maybe I shouldn't say that because we still don't know what is the second crime that elevates a misdemeanor, which is no longer subject to prosecution because the statute of limitations has expired on that misdemeanor, but it could be revived and brought back to life if there's a second crime, which we have not yet had identified for us. That's why Robert Costello was rolling his eyes yesterday in court at Juan Marchand. Now, Brad Smith was not able to roll his eyes in court yesterday. Brad Smith is former head of the Federal Election Commission, and Judge Marchand would not let him testify in court as to what election interference is and what it is not. So the strategy on waiting until Tuesday to have closing arguments is hopefully the jury will forget everything they've heard. The strategy Marchand employed on not allowing Brad Smith to testify is Marchand is hoping, that if the jury hears, well, Michael Cohen pleaded guilty to, campaign finance violations, and he worked for Donald Trump, so Donald Trump must be guilty too. Brad Smith could have come in and said, here's what a Federal Election Commission campaign finance violation is and what it isn't. But Marchand doesn't want that. He doesn't want an informed jury. And there are people who are going, well, if he instructs the jury the right way, then this is an automatic. First of all, this should be over now. He should have issued a directed verdict. Should have said, there is no case here. You didn't prove your case, Alvin Bragg. Go away. But Juan Marchand is not going to do that because Juan Marchand is a political donor to Joe Biden. I know it keeps getting more ridiculous by the minute, does it not? Yes, it does. Speaking of ridiculous, we're back to Columbus crime as profiled in the New York Times and the escalation of the same murders in the city since George Floyd's death, which they equate to the start of the pandemic. The pandemic had nothing to do. People were shut in at home. If anything, the numbers on crime should have gone down. No, they did not. They escalated. They multiplied. And then the Times talks to a juvenile prosecutor in Columbus. Now, you talk about a guy who's got a lot of time to play golf with Andrew Ginther. It'd be a prosecutor of juvenile crimes in Columbus, because we have juvenile court judges who said that an attempt to get 10,000 car thefts under control by putting the Kia boys in jail for stealing said cars was racist. So Euripides Chimbidis, a prosecutor who handles juvenile cases in Columbus, maybe they should have written who's theoretically supposed to handle juvenile cases in Columbus. They interview him, and Mr. Chimbidis says, almost any case I have that's a murder, aggravated robbery, felonious assault with a shooting, when we get to the phone dumps, there's stuff with them posing with guns or threatening to do harm to people. It's a constant. In my view, they're putting themselves at risk, making other kids want to come after them. And then this story talks about a tragic case of a 15-year-old. I'm not giving you the names because their families have been through enough pain through the malignant incompetence of Andrew Ginther and the people who work for Columbus's excuse for a mayor. I see no reason to put these families through more pain unless it is to memorialize a life well lived like Mackenzie Ridley's. But this 15-year-old lived on the east side. His mother said that he knew almost 24 people who had been murdered. Think of that. A 15-year-old who knows 24 people who have been murdered. And then this is where the story gets even worse. The young man was home in April of 2021 when, after a day of virtual classes, Should have been in school, wasn't. Great job, American Federation of Teachers, Ohio Education Association. You proud of yourself, Randy Weingarten? You proud of yourself, Scott DeMauro? After a day of virtual classes, the young man arranged by text to have marijuana delivered to the apartment. Can you do that on Uber? I don't know. Uber Eats? Uber Weed? I don't know. But he arranged by text to have marijuana delivered to the apartment. How many of my listeners right now, Jeff, are going, you can have marijuana delivered to your apartment? Like all of them, because all of you are law-abiding citizens. So a minivan pulls up outside with the drug. Young man ventures out to collect it. The driver delivered more than marijuana. He delivered lead, shooting at the young man. And the young man who ordered the marijuana then pulled out a revolver and returned fire. The driver of the van was hit in the leg. The young man who ordered the marijuana was shot twice in the chest and bled to death. I mean, this is the city we have because of the horrendous crime policies and the indifference and inaction of a mayor who talks a good game. Oh, public health crisis, summer programs, recreational opportunities. But nothing ever changes, including the fact that Democrats have a free run of the city. You can't even get a look for a city office if you have an R next to your name. So what did the kid get? Who drove up and shot first? He got involuntary manslaughter. He shot first. He was delivering drugs to a guy's house, shot first, and got involuntary manslaughter. You want to know why I mock the Franklin County juvenile justice system? Right there is why. Right there. Kid's old enough to drive a car, theoretically. He's delivering pot. Why is he not tried as an adult, and why is he not put away forever for murders? Because we leave dangerous people on the street. What do you think we get? Principle of sowing and reaping. You get more than you sow. You get what you sow, more than you sow, later than you sow it. Works for everything. So the mom of the 15-year-old who ordered the pot and got shot says she knew her son had a gun. I work a lot. I work around the clock. He was my protector. He protected the house. She said if she had it to do over again, she would not have allowed this. And this is a familiar tale to the woman I told you I was going to tell you about. And her name is Melissa Thomas St. Clair. She's a middle school teacher. And she was motivated to start Mothers of Murdered Children in Columbus. And I love the fact that she's not running from this. She's not buying into the Biden narrative that it's somebody else's fault. She says, every one of us has a story. If there was better accountability within our parenting, then maybe some decisions of our children would have been different. And sadly, her own adult son was fatally stabbed while trying to collect on a drug debt. Yeah, it all coalesces into a tsunami of hopelessness. The lack of education in Columbus City schools convinces these young people that they have no future, that there is nothing good attainable to them because they haven't been taught how to read or write. Their obsession, like all young people's obsession, with social media, which leads them to pose with guns and, fake Twitter and Tumblr muscles, and then violence results.
Sunny, warm, and humid this afternoon. Be careful if you're going to be outdoors. High today, 89. Partly cloudy, warm, 69. Clouds, breezy, humid, not as warm tomorrow. Showers, strong thunderstorms for the afternoon and evening.
I don't know how we fix this unless the voters decide they've had enough and they're just not going to put up with it anymore. Because the people in charge they're not going to change anything. They've already proven they're incompetent and don't care.
Serving our community with state-of-the-art equipment for 35 years. From oil changes to
to detailing to complete engine replacement. We're here to serve you to the highest levels and make you part of the family. All our repairs are backed by a 36-month, 36,000-mile warranty. Check out our mobile app for discounts and specials. Tilton's Automotive Service, in the shadow of Anheuser-Busch in Columbus and just off Creekside in Gahanna. For more info, check out tiltonsauto.com. Take it to Tilton's.
Hi, it's Bruce Hooley, and if you're like me, you're excited about the approach and eventual arrival of summer. I like being active. I like working in the yard. I like playing golf. I like being active at the shooting range. But if you like doing so, well, they can intrude and they can take away from your enjoyment of the activities that you enjoy most. If you have that kind of pain, I'd like to introduce you to a possible solution. That solution is QC Genetics, the specialists in advanced regenerative medicine. Why ever do doctor visits and medication when you can allow your body to do what it's designed to do, heal itself with the help of the professionals at QC Kinetics? Here's how
I added a little audio here.
Draws the natural healing agents from your body, concentrates them in the meat.
We are polarized. I don't. Less, but people are happier with it. That sounds like something to look into, and that is MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save many families up to $500 a month, and that is huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. Against the nonsense on the left. And I understand that because there is a lot of nonsense on the left, and that's in my book too. Against the nonsense on the left, and that's in because there is a lot of nonsense on the left.
The brightest minds in conservative opinion. It's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Hugh Hewitt weekdays at 6 a.m.
Oh,
Eastern,
Hugh Hewitt.
Followed by Mike Gallagher.
The great
at 9.
Hugh Hewitt.
Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free, now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo.
As a truck driver, I've learned how important road safety is. I know that large trucks need more time and room to stop. That's why I always hang back and follow other vehicles at a safe distance. Everyone can help keep our roads safe. Next time you're driving, try to remember to always give trucks extra space when you merge in front of them. Let's all plan to share the road safely. Learn how at www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
PatriotSwitch.com products, all made by one company, a family-owned company, not a company like Unilever or Procter & Gamble or Johnson & Johnson, not a company owned by BlackRock or State Street or Vanguard, a big asset manager, where, you know, there's no competition really in American manufacturing because all the big companies, the 12 that stock 90% of the products on your store shelves, are owned by the same 3 companies. And so you want to talk about global competition? No, because those 3 asset managers also own a lot of the companies in other countries that produce the goods that you're buying. So you're getting stuff that is made to exist and last for a long time on the shelf, not stuff that's good for you. That's why I become a PatriotSwitch.com member, because I know that their products are good for me. Plant-based products, good for the environment, good for my family. I'm talking about makeup, mouthwash, toothpaste, body lotion, cleaning solutions, laundry detergent, things you're already buying. Why not buy them from a good American company that ships them right to your door? And you can do so when you go to PatriotSwitch.com/Bruce, PatriotSwitch.com/Bruce. Now, we had a Biden government in mourning yesterday, MOURNING. And what were they in mourning about? No, not their poll numbers. Don't be a wise guy. They were in mourning over the death of the Butcher of Tehran. The Butcher of Tehran. That was the nickname of Ibrahim Raisi, one of the Iranian strongmen who died in a helicopter crash in the mountains. At the UN, which is woke and hates Israel, they stood up and offered their condolences to Raisi and to Raisi's family, which prompted the Israeli ambassador to say this.
Just this morning, you held a moment of silence to commemorate the mass murdering president of Iran. A month ago, Raisi, the Butcher of Tehran, launched an unprecedented missile and drone strike on Israel to murder thousands of innocent Israelis, deliberately. The blood of thousands of innocent Iranians is on his hands. Women, members of the LGBTQ community, peaceful protesters, and many, many others.
Raisi well earned his nickname, the Butcher of Tehran. They would hang people from cranes in such mass numbers that they would tell the soon-to-be hung victims to write their names on their palm so that when they piled them on trucks to take them away to mass graves, they would know exactly who they had killed. All right, it's the UN, Bruce. They're super woke. We don't expect them to do things the right way. What about our own State Department? Oh, Matthew Miller is a spokesman for the State Department. And Matthew Miller also offered up his condolences to the nation of Iran in the death of Ibrahim Raisi. Now, I've always wondered, what kind of White House pool reporter would I be? You see these people are asking like bootlick questions, and then Peter Doocy comes in, he asks a real question. And I think, given my history at Ohio State and other places, I'd be the Doocy. I'd be the Doocy in the crowd, right? Well, there was a Doocy in the crowd at the State Department. I don't know who this grizzled old dude is, but he was questioning Matthew Miller on the absurdity of offering condolences on the death of Ibrahim Raisi, who America knows as the Butcher of Tehran.
Just to ask you about this, what exactly is official condolences?
So condolences on behalf of the United States government.
Well, then why doesn't it say that? I think that this is like, official condolences means absolutely nothing, and I'm not even sure why you're offering condolences if this guy was as bad as you say he was.
Look,
why? I mean,
because we regret any loss of life. We don't want to see people die in helicopter crashes. It doesn't change our view of him.
Really? There's not one person that you can think of the United States didn't want to see in an air accident.
There were people on board that aircraft who have families. We think that's an appropriate step to take. It's a step the United States government has taken when any number of foreign leaders with whom we had vehement disagreements have.
When they start going to the route, then you know they're caught. And he went on to say, we offered official condolences on the death of Joseph Stalin. And the reporter goes, yeah, but he was an ally in World War II. I'll just win that. So this is just ridiculous. This shows you how beholden to Iran the Biden administration is. I guess the good news is if you're a descendant of Adolph Hitler, you should be getting flowers today from the Biden administration. Maybe I'm too harsh. I don't know. Maybe I should express my condolences. In fact, I think I will express my condolences because it is a shame. It is a tragic shame when we lose a perfectly good helicopter. So I offer my condolences to the helicopter and the helicopter manufacturers. Now, we talked about crime, the New York Times story, the reason why we have such crime in our country. And if you listen to Joe Biden's speech at Morehouse College, it's because we have racist cops and black people have no chance. And I tried to show you yesterday what a lie that is. But I'm not going to convince any liberals of that. I'm not going to convince any leftists of that. The guy who might be able to convince some liberals and leftists of that is Bill Maher, who last night went on Gutfeld and had this to say about Joe Biden's race pandering at Morehouse College.
Well, let me ask you this: do you think there is a purpose to him being so stark and bleak?
I think it's not helpful.
Yeah.
First of all, it's anachronistic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that speech would have made sense some years ago. I think we should acknowledge that racism still persists, and we should always be making remedial remedies for it. But we're not in the past. I always keep saying, let's live in the year we're living in. We're not living in the year where you have to be 10 times better to succeed if you're a person of color. And in some instances, it's an advantage.
Yeah.
In some places, it's not an advantage. But we're not living in that world that he's talking about. And I don't think that helps anybody.
We are not living in the world that he, meaning Joe Biden, is talking about. No, we are not. We are not living in that world. And kudos to him for saying it. I mean, Maher is more of a truth teller than most people on the left. I've said before, I vehemently disagree with his view of abortion, but at least his view of abortion is, yeah, it's murder and I don't care. There's an element of honesty in his immorality. And I also liked what he had to say about the fact that we've devolved into this era where Democrats just refuse to engage on topics, and too many Republicans refuse to engage on topics. Here's more on that.
We are polarized. I don't think we can deny that. The point is that we can also be friends. That's that we can't. Let's not pretend that these disagreements are not profound. Let's just say, okay, they are profound, but you know what? There's 90 other things we could talk about which we wouldn't disagree on. And I can't hate you. I've said it a million times. You can hate Trump. You can't hate all the people who like him. It's half the country.
Yeah.
And I am certainly not blind to Donald Trump's faults. I get it, why people choose to vote for him. You know, somebody who's conservative once said to me, what you don't get, you liberals don't get about Trump, is that we don't like him either. We just see him as a bulwark against the nonsense on the left. And I understand that because there is a lot of nonsense on the left.
Yeah, now if he's talking about having conversations about things like energy policy and monetary policy, then yes, I'll sit down, I'll debate the merits of capitalism and all that. If he's talking about men who want to be women and women who want to be men, which I don't think Maher shares that view, then there is no quarter to give on that. Light has no compatibility with darkness. You know, the 11th commandment that a lot of people live by is thou shalt be nice. No, thou shalt be someone who tells the truth always.
Are you under the impression that a metal roof costs 2 or 3 times more than a shingle roof? No.
Hey, that might be a record audience today. That's pretty cool. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Hope you had a good morning, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. If you want to watch hour number 2 of the show, switch over to the Bruce Hooley Show Facebook page or the 9890 Answer Facebook page. I will try to post shorts from hour number 1 later today. In hour number 2, we have coming up a very angry rant by someone who was in Biden's wheelhouse for the Morehouse speech, who did not like it at all. And we'll talk a little bit more about education and what efforts are being undertaken in the state of Ohio to better educate our kids. I'm passionate about that because education is the key to leaving behind the hopelessness of the inner city and creating opportunities for yourself, whether you grow up in the inner city or whether you grow up in the suburbs or whether you grow up rurally. So hope you all have a great rest of your day. I hope I see you tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching.